Every single day in the United States, roughly 100,000 smartphone screens meet a tragic end on concrete sidewalks, bathroom tiles, and grocery store parking lots. Welcome to the $50 billion industry of human clumsiness. There is a massive, highly lucrative market feeding entirely off our inability to hold onto a metal rectangle. And if you spend more than 5 minutes on the internet, you will inevitably find business gurus promising that all you need is $10,000, a screwdriver, and a dream to get your slice of that pie. Today, we are going to completely tear down the phone repair business model. I am going to show you what a $3,000 a month profit actually looks like behind the scenes. And by the end of this video, I am going to drop a financial reality check that will make you wonder if you are opening a tech business or just running a casino with your own bare hands. But hey, let us laugh first, because the spreadsheets waiting for us are not very funny. Let us start with the hook that pulls everyone in, the legendary 90% profit margin. It sounds absolutely incredible, does it not? You buy a replacement charging port from a wholesale supplier for $5. You charge the panicked customer $50 to install it. That is technically a 90% gross margin. Wall Street hedge funds would literally kill for those numbers. But gross margin is just the shiny, deceptive wrapper on a very empty box. People see a 90% margin and they instantly picture passive income. They imagine sitting on a beach while money prints itself. But in local service businesses, gross margin completely ignores the fact that you have to manually, physically extract that profit using tweezers, a magnifying glass, and an absurd amount of patience. Once you pay for your commercial lease, your utilities, your business insurance, and the ibuprofen for your chronic back pain, that 90% shrinks faster than a wool sweater in a hot dryer. You quickly realize that 90% of $5 does not even buy you a decent cup of coffee at Starbucks. Here is the psychological secret of this industry. You aren't actually in the hardware business. When a customer walks in with a dead screen, they are not paying for a high-definition OLED panel. They are paying the panic tax. They are paying for inner peace, for the relief of not losing their photos, their contacts, and their endless social media doom scrolling. You are essentially a highly stressed, unlicensed therapist with a heat gun, and your most frequent patient. The iPhone, Apple products will make up roughly 70% of your repair volume, which brings us to the ultimate irony of this business. You think you are an independent entrepreneur? Think again. You are essentially an unpaid employee of a trillion-dollar company. Fixing a modern device is less like repairing technology and more like trying to defuse a bomb where the manufacturer actively hates you. Let us get real for a second. If you want to net $3,000 a month of actual take-home money, your gross revenue needs to consistently hit $15,000 to $25,000. That means your entire business model relies entirely on human clumsiness. You are literally waking up every morning, praying for at least 5 people in your zip code to drop their expensive devices just so you can pay your landlord. So let us talk about that magical $10,000 startup number the internet loves to throw around. 10 grand sounds incredibly accessible, does it not? It sounds less like a massive, life-altering financial risk and more like a weekend side hustle getting a little bit serious. But let us do some real accounting and see where that money actually evaporates. First, you drop around $4,000 on specialized equipment. We are talking about microscopes, thermal mats, heat guns, and high-end laser machines. Here is the cruel, unspoken joke of tech hardware repair. The lifespan of your expensive tools is a violently downward plunging chart. Why? Because smartphone manufacturers change their architectural designs constantly to keep you guessing. That $1,000 laser machine you bought to remove back glass. It becomes an oversized, very expensive paperweight the moment a tech giant decides to change their industrial glue compound or embed a wireless charging coil right where you need to cut. Next up on the spending spree, you drop another $4,000 on replacement parts. You think you just need a few screens and batteries, right? Wrong. You need screens, batteries, and cameras for the top 30 most popular models. And you need the back glasses in Midnight, Starlight, Product Red, and whatever fancy name they give to the color blue this year. You must stock all of them right now, because a panicked customer wants their phone fixed immediately. They will not wait 3 to 5 business days for shipping. Welcome to what I lovingly call the inventory graveyard. The smartphone industry is absolutely relentless. Every single year, dozens of new phone models are unleashed upon the public. This mathematical reality means that roughly 30% of the replacement parts you buy today will become utterly obsolete in 12 to 18 months. Your back storage room will quickly transform into a technology museum. It is a sad little place where iPhone 8 screens and bloated batteries rest in eternal peace, funded entirely by your startup capital. Dead inventory is not just unused material. It is cash that has simply stopped breathing. It is money trapped in plastic packaging, depreciating to zero while sitting on a shelf. And what about the remaining $2,000 of your initial budget? Oh, that is your tiny, fragile financial cushion to survive the mall kiosk trap. Business gurus love recommending mall kiosks because of the guaranteed foot traffic. Sure, setting up a kiosk in a mall gets you thousands of eyeballs a day. It is actually quite romantic to watch all those potential customers walk by while you sit in a tiny glass box. That is, until the first of the month arrives. When mall management knocks on your counter, you realize renting a 4 square meter podium will easily cost you anywhere from $2,000 to $5,000 a month. That massive foot traffic does not guarantee a single cracked screen will actually land on your desk. But that commercial lease agreement absolutely guarantees your bank account gets drained. High fixed costs will completely choke your cash flow before you even successfully repair your first device. So yes, $10,000 is a fantastic starting point. It is also the exact amount you will deeply wish you had quietly dumped into a safe ETF index fund while you are violently prying off a glue-heavy back glass at 10:45 on a Saturday night. So you spent your $10,000, you bought the physical tools, you bought the initial inventory. You think you are finally done spending money, right? Welcome to the era of the SaaS bleed. Software as a service is the modern technology industry's favorite way to ensure your bank account never actually heals. In 2026, you cannot just open a damaged phone with a screwdriver and guess which microchip is dead by. You need highly detailed, interactive motherboard schematics. You need specialized point-of-sale software tailored for repair shops to track your tickets. You need access to proprietary diagnostic databases. These are not one-time purchases. They are monthly and annual subscriptions. $50 a month here, $150 a year there. You are subscribing to schematic software just to find out which microscopic capacitor blew up. You are subscribing to management software just to track the dead inventory sitting in your back room. It is the death by 1,000 subscriptions. These recurring costs drain your profit margins 24/7, even on the days when absolutely zero customers walk through your door. But wait, what about the right to repair movement? The news told us this was a massive, historic victory for independent repair shops and consumers. Politicians stood in front of cameras and proudly announced that you finally have the legal right to fix your own devices without being harassed. On paper, they gave you the physical right to unscrew the bottom of a phone. In reality, the tech giants did not surrender. They just smiled, nodded, and moved the battlefield. They completely circumvented the physical laws by weaponizing their software. They introduced a brilliant, somewhat evil concept known as parts pairing or serialization. Today, every tiny, fragile component, from the screen to the camera to the battery, has a unique cryptographic serial number mathematically tied to the main logic board. You can physically buy a perfectly good, authentic battery. You can perfectly install it with your own 2 hands. The surgery is a complete physical success. But when you turn the phone on, the software immune system actively rejects the transplant. It looks at the serial number of that new battery and realizes it was not authorized by the mothership. It throws up a persistent, unremovable warning notification telling your customer that the part is unknown. It disables biometric security. It kills the battery health monitor. It deliberately makes the phone incredibly annoying to use. To make that error message disappear, you have to buy the part directly from the manufacturer at a premium price. Then, you must use their proprietary cloud software to pair the new serial number. You are essentially paying a digital ransom to a server in California just to make a piece of glass and lithium function normally. You thought you were building your own independent technology empire. In reality, you are just an unpaid intern for Silicon Valley, paying monthly subscriptions just for the privilege of fixing their fragile designs. Let us talk about the silent killer of technology repair businesses. It is a massive, hidden operating cost that almost no startup guide ever mentions, and it will destroy your margins overnight. I lovingly call it the oops tax. The tech repair industry average for collateral damage during a routine repair is somewhere around 3 to 5%. That sounds like a small number until you do the actual math on your workbench. It means out of every 100 devices you pry open, you will inevitably tear a delicate ribbon cable, puncture a swollen lithium battery, or completely shatter a perfectly good back glass. To truly understand the sheer financial insanity of this business model, let us compare a smartphone repair shop to a local nail salon. On paper, they look like identical twins. Both are local service businesses. Both offer quick in-and-out turnarounds. and both boast seemingly fantastic gross margins based primarily on manual labor. But here is the brutal, fundamental difference in risk exposure. If a nail technician makes a mistake during a manicure, they simply grab a cotton pad, wipe off the ruined polish with some acetone and start over. The total cost of that mistake, it costs them about 10 cents in chemical supplies and 2 minutes of their life. If you, the highly stressed phone technician, slip with your sharp metal tweezers for just a fraction of a second, you might accidentally sever the Face ID sensor on a brand new $1,000 device. You just destroyed a biometric component that is cryptographically locked to the motherboard. If a nail salon messes up a client's nails, the worst thing that happens is a slightly passive-aggressive 1-star Yelp review. If you completely fry a customer's smartphone, they will scream and threaten to sue you like you just unplugged their grandmother's life support machine in an intensive care unit. Let us do the agonizing math on this oops tax. Let us say your actual take-home net profit on a standard battery replacement is 20 bucks. Not bad for 20 minutes of work. But replacing the pristine, original OLED screen that you just accidentally cracked with your pry tool. That mistake costs you $300 out of pocket to make the customer whole. That single, momentary lapse in your physical concentration just completely wiped out the net profit from your next 15 consecutive, absolutely flawless repairs. You are not just working for free for the rest of the week. You are actively paying cash out of your own pocket for the privilege of being incredibly stressed out. When you look at the profit and loss statements of failing tech repair shops, you will never see a neat little line item called, "My hands were shaking." But you will see an artificially inflated cost of goods sold, because the owners are secretly buying replacement parts for the phones they broke themselves. If you are not baking a substantial contingency risk fund directly into your pricing structure, you are not operating a business based on mathematics. You are running a business based on miracles and steady hands. And if your own mistakes do not bankrupt you, the YouTube-certified do-it-yourself experts will certainly try their best. Thanks to short, overly simplified online tutorials, everyone thinks they are a tech genius. That is, until they pry their device open on their kitchen table and strip all the microscopic screws. They will casually walk into your shop carrying a generic Ziploc bag filled with shattered glass, mysterious screws, and the rotting corpse of a motherboard. They will drop that bag of disaster on your counter, look you straight in the eye, and practically beg you to perform a technological resurrection for $20. Suddenly, 20% of your working hours are not spent repairing hardware at all. They are spent being an unlicensed grief counselor. You spend your afternoon explaining to weeping adults why their forgotten iCloud password is not a tragedy you can fix with a heat gun and a plastic pry tool. Let us address the ultimate entrepreneur's dream. You have set up your shop, you survived the inventory graveyard, and now you want to legally scale your empire. You want to step back, hire a team, and enjoy that sweet, passive income. You read a trendy business book that told you to work on your business, not in your business. So you decide to hire an employee to handle the workbench while you sip coffee and casually manage the spreadsheets. Welcome to the scaling paradox of hyper-specialized local services. You immediately face a brutal binary choice when looking for someone to literally. Option A, you hire a 19-year-old kid with zero experience for $15 an hour. It is cheap, entry-level labor, which keeps your profit margins looking incredibly healthy on paper. You spend 3 agonizing months training this kid. You teach them how to avoid the biometric sensors and how to properly heat the industrial adhesive without melting the plastic screen frame. But remember the oops tax we just talked about. Your cheap labor is inevitably going to slip. You are placing a $1,000 device into the hands of a teenager who just learned what a motherboard is. Your dream of passive income will abruptly end on the exact same afternoon your new hire accidentally punctures a lithium-ion battery and starts a miniature campfire on your workbench. And what is the absolute worst-case scenario with option A? The kid actually learns the job perfectly. The moment they get good at fixing devices, they realize they do not need you or your kiosk anymore. They quit, buy their own cheap tools online, and start fixing phones out of their bedroom, actively stealing your local customers. You basically paid someone $15 an hour to become your direct competitor. So you pivot to option B. You decide to avoid the headache entirely and hire a senior master technician. This person can micro-solder under a microscope and fix a broken motherboard trace in their sleep. They will not break the customer's phones, which gives you incredible peace of mind. But this expert also knows exactly what their highly specialized skills are worth in the open market. They will demand $35 to $40 an hour, plus benefits, because they essentially hold the technical lifeblood of your entire operation in their steady hands. Now let us do the math. After paying the master technician's premium salary, the commercial lease, the software subscriptions, and the daily marketing costs, your net profit margin per repair drops to almost absolute zero. The master technician is making a fantastic, stable living, and you are taking on 100% of the financial liability just to facilitate their employment. You did not build a scalable asset. You built a charitable foundation that exists solely to employ exactly one highly skilled tradesman. In this industry, the margins are so fragile that they fundamentally rely on the owner being the primary source of labor. You realize that scaling a hardware repair shop is not like scaling a software application. You cannot simply copy and paste a skilled technician. The moment you try to outsource the core technical skill, the economic model completely collapses. Let us finally talk about the ultimate grand prize, the holy grail of every side hustle tutorial on the internet. A clean, passive-sounding $3,000 in monthly net profit. It sounds like a fantastic return on a $10,000 initial investment. But let us translate that shiny net profit into raw, physical labor. To actually put $3,000 of legally clean, post-tax, post-expense cash into your checking account, your shop needs to generate serious volume. We are talking about anywhere from $15,000 to $25,000 in gross revenue every single month, depending on your local overhead. Assuming a generous average ticket size of $100 per repair, which includes both the replacement parts and your precious labor, that means you need a lot of broken screens. You need to successfully complete 150 to 250 repairs every single month. That is roughly 5 to 8 completely flawless, disaster-free transactions every single day, assuming you never take a single day off to see your family or feel the sunlight on your skin. Now, how exactly do you convince 8 panicked strangers a day to walk into your specific store instead of the brightly lit, official manufacturer's store? You ask Google for help, and Google will gladly ask for your lunch money in return. Welcome to the local customer acquisition cost meat grinder. Bidding on local search terms like phone repair near me in 2026 is an absolute digital bloodbath. You are no longer competing with the guy down the street. You are competing against massive national franchise chains backed by private equity firms with bottomless marketing budgets. You will routinely pay Google $10 to $15 just for a single click on your advertisement. Let that sink in for a moment. That is $15 flying straight out of your pocket for someone to click your link, call your store, and casually ask, "Hey, do you guys sell tempered glass screen protectors for a 10-year-old Dell laptop?" That is your customer acquisition cost quietly, efficiently eating your margins alive before the customer even walks through your front door. Your break-even point in this business isn't a static finish line. It is a moving target that sprints further away every time an ad campaign misfires. And then we hit the final, most soul-crushing trap of your first 12 months in business, the time is money illusion. Let us look at a real-world, highly typical scenario for a difficult glue-heavy repair. You quote a customer a $50 labor fee for a standard battery swap. You look at the phone and you estimate it will take exactly 20 minutes. At that pace, you are making $150 an hour. You feel like a genius. But the customer conveniently forgets to tell you that the previous repair guy stripped the bottom screws until they were perfectly smooth metal circles. Or perhaps the manufacturer decided to use a new military-grade industrial adhesive to glue the battery directly to the incredibly fragile display flex cable. What was supposed to be a quick, highly profitable swap turns into a 3-hour agonizing wrestling match with microscopic drill bits, dissolving solvents, and your own rising blood pressure. Let us recalculate that $50 labor fee over 3 hours of intense, focused, terrifying physical labor. You are now making exactly $16.66 an hour. Congratulations! You just spent $10,000 of your own hard-earned capital, and you took on all the financial liability of a highly trained brain surgeon. You did all of that incredible entrepreneurial work just to mathematically reduce your hourly wage to compete directly with a part-time teenager flipping burgers at a fast food joint. Let us turn off the spreadsheets and the colorful charts for a second. Let us look at the absolute, unfiltered bottom line of this $50 billion industry. You started this journey staring at a beautiful, theoretical 90% profit margin. You saw a $10,000 barrier to entry, and you genuinely thought it was your golden ticket to financial independence. But look at what we have actually uncovered over the last 20 minutes. That 90% margin is just a fragile, paper-thin shield. It is barely protecting you from the reality of the inventory graveyard, the crippling kiosk rent, and the endless monthly SaaS bleed. In 2026, the right to repair movement sounds like a massive victory for independent shops on paper. But the reality, the tech giants have not surrendered, they have simply weaponized their software. They are locking biometric sensors to logic boards, turning your honest repair attempt into a high-stakes gamble against a Silicon Valley server. You cannot scale this business passively because the moment you outsource the labor, your margins completely evaporate. And you are constantly fighting the ruthless customer acquisition cost of Google's algorithms just to get a single person through your front door. You are putting $10,000 of your hard-earned money on the table. You are stepping into a market with hundreds of thousands of broken screens falling from the sky every single day. But here is the ultimate brutal truth. The core question of this business is not about how many tiny screws you can perfectly memorize. It is not about how many screens you can successfully replace in a single afternoon. The real question is, how many times can your hand slip? How many microscopic mistakes can you actually afford to make? How long before you realize that you are not running a scalable technology business at all? You are just taking your own life savings and gambling it on the absolute, unwavering stability of your own two hands against the endless clumsiness of everyone else. And breathe, I know that got a little heavy there at the end. But hey, your bank account does not care about your failings, and neither do spreadsheets. So I have a serious question for you. Drop a comment down below right now. If somebody handed you $10,000 in cold, hard cash today, are you still brave enough to open a phone repair shop? Or are you taking that money straight to a nail salon where the worst-case scenario is a slightly passive-aggressive Yelp review? Let me know I actually read every single one. Also, do me a massive favor. Send this video to that one friend who keeps trying to convince you to split a mall kiosk lease with them. You might just save their entire retirement fund, and they can thank you later. If you enjoy having your entrepreneurial dreams mathematically crushed in the most helpful way possible, hit subscribe. We have got plenty more financial illusions to break down. As for me, I am going to stay right here, analyzing the data. Because frankly, crunching numbers is a lot less stressful than scraping thermal paste off a $1,500 iPhone.